Hello. Can you hear me?
I can.
Oh, perfect. How are you?
Hey.
Pretty house.
Oh, thank you. This is my mom and dad's house.
Oh, getting notifications I don't recognize. How are you doing today?
Doing good. Good.
Is this a teaching day?
It is, yes, but it was pretty flexible. So once I figured out which time zone I was in, I switched some stuff. And how about you?
No, actually today I am just home and my husband has my son. And they're like out and I've had the whole house to myself since about 8 o'clock this morning. So it's pretty amazing. I'm getting a lot done.
Awesome.
Good to see you, Scarlett.
Hello.
I'm glad. So far, we all got the burgundy shirt memo, it looks like, or reddish shirt.
Whoops, sorry.
Okay. You're doing all kinds of acrobatics, like flipping around and everything. That's super impressive.
Yeah. I'm on my phone, so I can take notes on my iPad because all my stuff's on my iPad.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I do the same thing. Did you get your Apple Pencil, Lauren?
Not yet. I told my husband about it, and he apparently already had some LG pen thing.
Oh, yeah.
So he was like, "Do you really need it to be an Apple Pencil?" And I was like, I mean, no, not necessarily. Like, I just need it to be good. So
does he have the LG crayon? Is that what it is?
Well, I didn't even, all I saw, like, he was using like the eraser side of it with just like a rubber end on it, just to like mark up a photo to show me. And I was like, well, that's clearly better than a fingertip. So that's an upgrade, but I don't know what the other side, like if.
Yeah, I don't know the specs of the Apple Pencil, but my husband was like, there's a lot of technology. I could explain it all, but just know, like, it is the best because of like whatever it is, whatever. That's what he said. So I don't know, but if you get one from Best Buy, they let you return stuff, like use it as much as you want and return it within 15 days. So you can like get two things and try them side by side. We've gotten like Fitbits and all sorts of things. My husband is really into speakers. So, I mean, we've gone through all like the Sonos speakers. We've had all Google Home integrated speakers and like gone back and forth. Like for 2 years, we had all Google Homes. And then for 2 years, we had all Sonos speakers. And now we're back to all Google Homes. So we test a lot of stuff from Best Buy, and you just return it within 15 days.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, we can get started. So first, I'll just are there questions immediately that either of you had from any of the weeks? Doesn't have to be week 3.
I did have one from week 1, I think it was, or just, I forget now, but something I heard you say. You were talking about your ideal student.
Oh,
So you mentioned you don't feel the urge to move people through rep or method books at a super fast pace, which I think is good because it's, like that is not necessarily the end goal, right? It's to be making musicians. But I was curious, like you said, as long as their minds are engaged during the lesson. I have noticed a serious correlation between not progressing through rep and quitting. And so like, what are some, specific ways that you have that are, not necessarily checking off, I got through this unit or this book, but I'm still feeling like I'm getting better as a musician.
Getting progress. Yeah. So that's an interesting question because I do know what you're talking about. Like I have had that experience as I think through my career as a teacher. I guess the thing I'm looking for is like if the student is excited to come to lessons, that's what their parent picks up on, I think. I do try to communicate with parents what we're doing. And I'll say like, it seems like we're moving really slowly through this book, but this is all the stuff we're doing that's outside the book. So if there's like a parent concern, communication with parents helps that. But I think most of them gauge whether or not lessons are worthwhile by how their kid is responding. And like I have one student right now, and she had kind of a slow, like really a slow year. And it was also when we had switched to Skype lessons because I had moved. And I was like, I feel like it was just hard to get a sense of where she was about lessons because I wasn't there. And some days she seemed distracted. And but then her brother signed up. So clearly her parents are satisfied with the progress she's making and her engagement. And she did, like, since COVID, has really engaged more in lessons, I think, which is awesome. And I've also started doing more activities with her. She's such a dork. She said one day, I had her writing down some notes for something. And she said, I just love taking notes. I should do this more often. And I was like, who cares about taking notes? But she did. So I just give her more stuff to write down. Like, you know, I always had her write down her assignments, but I would give her more instructions or more like write down, you know, the major scale instead of me just writing it and modeling online. So that's all kind of an excursus. But yeah, I guess those are the things, like making sure the student is, you know, lighting up in their lessons and not begrudging coming. Yeah. Do you have a specific scenario that you're thinking about?
Well, really, it's like I told you in our one-on-one, I am mostly a voice teacher, but I do teach piano, and I'm always getting people asking me about it.
Mm-hmm.
It just hasn't like soared, and so I mean, I know that there has to be a certain amount of grasping like how to read notes before you can really move on. So like it's hard for me to get past that. And like, I mean, you don't have to go into a whole bunch of details because I found some resources recently with more like games and, you know, I'm kind of trying to do my homework on other ways to get, especially with the very young, like, you know, 6 or 7 year olds that it's like, there's really no reason you shouldn't be able to start, but you're just not going to be as good as like a 10-year-old would be at the beginning. But yeah.
Do you think maybe, is it like your comfort level in lessons? Like maybe your, because it's not voice, like your primary thing. Do you think that might be part of it?
That's a good question. Definitely a couple years ago, I would say yes. It was like every piano lesson, I was more nervous and worried that I wouldn't be providing the quality of lesson. But I don't think that's what I feel now because I like have different things to draw from. So if they're not doing well with sight reading, I'll try to get them, especially if they're older, do chord charts and just, you know, build off of just scale, chord. Now you can play any song you want. Or I can't think of anything now, but I feel more comfortable.
Okay.
But it's just the difference. Like, you know, we talked about singing is a little more casual. You don't have to read music to be a good singer. Obviously, I want them to. But yeah, I don't know.
I wonder if you maybe subconsciously are not including as many of the things that naturally light you up about teaching voice because it's like not your instrument, if you would call it that. And maybe there's like a different method. Like I have started using Piano Safari with my new students. Actually, I've even switched some to Piano Safari. There's much more singing in there and it's like a rote start. And maybe that would be more natural, like get you lit up and kind of engage the students differently. Yeah. I don't know.
I've heard good things about that one. So I'll have to check that one out.
Yeah.
And it's a good point. So thanks for that.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, that helps for sure.
Okay. Hi, Rachel. Any questions that immediately come up from any of the last weeks?
I have a question that came up this week. It's sort of related, but kind of off topic.
Go for it.
You mentioned it, so I'll bring it up. When you were talking about systems, that word kind of terrifies me because I'm not naturally an organized person. And I guess I wanted to get more of your input about what kind of systems you use and how to get all that set up. I think I was naively hoping that I could just like have, because I'm going to be offering classes, so have parents pay through the website for the 10-week class sessions or whatever it ends up being, and then be done with it. But I think I'm realizing it's going to be more complicated than that.
Keep everything organized.
Yes.
So, okay, let me get the scenario. You'll have, is it like 10-week recurring sessions, or is it like a one-time class that they register for?
I think that they'll, because it's going to be like preschool and toddler music classes, and then the prenatal classes. So I think that they'll register for each session separately.
Okay.
So like 10 weeks in the fall, 10 weeks in the spring, something like that.
All right. And can you give us like a 30-second explanation of what you're doing? Because it's really interesting. And I don't know that everyone in the group knows that yet. So go ahead and give your 30-second pitch.
Yes. So I'm actually a staff accompanist. I've been my whole career, but I'm hoping to make a complete career change and do prenatal music sessions for like relaxation and learning about music, how to use music to soothe infants, things like that. And then also preschool and toddler and baby, I guess I should say baby, toddler, and preschool music classes. So I'm just getting started, so I don't have anything yet.
And I think there are 2 pregnant ladies in the group. Oh, so yeah.
Great.
And some new moms too. All right. So the way I implement systems is like I pick the area that I'm feeling stress in my business, and that's the thing that I systematize first. So if I find like I'm not getting, podcast editing for me is a drag. I'm way too perfectionistic about it, and it takes me forever. So I outsource that. And that's like, I say system. I use systems very broadly. So a system can be like a routine, like I do all my bookkeeping every Friday. That can be a system. Or when I sit down to do my work, I don't check email until noon or something like that. So like those can be systems. You're talking about like the registration and handling student information specifically, right?
Yes.
And so when you say that you're realizing it'll be more than just paying for the class, what else are you hoping to get out of that system? Or what will you help with?
I guess, for instance, like I was reading another music school's policies, and they were talking about, well, you can make up a class, within the 10 weeks, you can come to another class. We have to let us know ahead of time, blah, blah, blah. And it just sounded like, oh my goodness, how am I going to keep all that organized? Because my system is to like write on sticky notes and post them around my desk, which probably is the best way to do it.
Yeah. So when I started my multi-teacher school, the first thing I noticed was I had systems that worked for me. And then I think it was like my 3rd teacher, and I was like, oh, that is not enough. And then I built up my systems again and then grew to another level. And sometimes you have to reinvent them. So the first thing I would do when you're thinking about what to use, like what software you use, what you need, is what do you want your policies to be? Do you want people to be able to make up those classes and kind of get a sense of that? Do you already know kind of where is that something you want to offer?
I'm not sure. I think I'll be figuring that out next week or whenever we talk about policy.
Yeah. That will help inform that, all the budgeting and putting together packages. And then, so, that tells you how much you need. I'm guessing something that's studio specific would be good for you. So like for my studio, all I need right now is accounting software. I don't need studio management software. I have used it in the past, because if you get something that can handle multiple teachers and also manage the rooms, like it wouldn't let me double book a room, so we wouldn't run out of pianos at 3:00 on a Tuesday. That was a level of system I needed for multiple teachers, multiple rooms, resource management stuff. Right now, all I need is accounting software. So my guess is you would probably want a at least a single teacher system. Like my music staff is one. Anything that works for music teachers or like yoga studios, that's another common one, or ballet studios. Those, like, they kind of all have the same similar models. Sometimes the music teacher ones have other things in them, like you can send or keep a music library or something like that. I don't typically use those extra features, but if you're like really organized in that way, then go for it. Who in this group, let's see, Scarlett, are you using any studio management? Or is anyone else using studio management software currently?
I'm not large enough yet to
Not
use
Okay.
the thing yet. Yeah.
Okay, Mary? Yeah?
This is one of my goals this summer, is to get some kind of management. And I actually, I don't mean to hijack your question, but I'm on the same thing. I only need something for one person. I don't need lending library. I have all my policies set, but now is just the tricky question is, how much can I spend on that to make my life easier?
Mm-hmm. Oh, you're going to love next week's lesson. Yeah, and I will say, like, really think about the value of your money. So if it's $30 a month for whatever system you choose, like, you can make that up in 1 half-hour lesson. It's really not a lot. And if that is something that really stresses you out and teaching is not stressful, like, just pick up the extra student and outsource that. Some popular ones, My Music Staff is a big one. I have not used that one personally. Music Teacher's Helper, and then the studio version of that, like multi-teacher version, is Studio Helper. That's the one I used in my music school, but that was 11 years ago that I picked it out. And my sense now is that it's kind of fallen out of favor. I don't think it's quite as well supported as My Music Staff. And then Fonz is a newer one. I've interviewed that founder on the podcast, and Eric is just awesome. Like, he is such a cool person. And if you want to support a musician, he's also a guitar teacher. So it doesn't have all the features that My Music Staff has, but like, I can say with 100% confidence you will get the support for that product. So it's just a cool company, and Eric does a lot for music teachers. So yeah, that's the pitch for Fonz.
Can I say something real quick, kind of along those lines?
Go for it.
I just listened to that podcast yesterday, and to what Rachel was saying about like trying to decide on her attendance policy or her makeup policy, I found it interesting to hear how many different music teachers, as well as different people that were like personal trainers or yoga teachers that they talked to. Like, so if you're not quite sure what you feel comfortable with, look at other people's websites or just talk to as many people that you know that do this kind of thing. And I think like I've started to see some trends. I've definitely like heard things that other people do that make me feel much more confident saying, hey, no, you can't just get your money back anytime you want, or you can't just expect me to do these makeup lessons. Like, maybe there's one built-in makeup or whatever it is, but just see what other people are doing and it'll spark that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Great point, Lauren. Yeah. And so much, like, I think our policies often, like, you'll see this. I mean, every week I think I see someone in a music teacher Facebook group saying, hey, everyone send me your policies, I'm writing mine. And then they just like pick one, or there's one teacher that's really like, this is what you need to have in your policy. And so they almost feel strong-armed into something. And then it's like really uncomfortable to enforce because it's not actually your policy, it's something someone else wrote. So you're doing a good job to be thoughtful about like what you actually want in your policies, and to give that some consideration, not just, copy and paste someone else's. Yeah. And next week, when we actually put our numbers into financial projections, I think that helps because it shows where you can afford to be generous and how much flexibility you can have, because you can put in there like, oh, if 10% of lessons get canceled, then like I need to have 10% more students, to cover that income or something. So yeah, that just kind of gives some validation, I think, when you might be feeling uncomfortable about policies, even though they're policies that you selected. That was a long answer. I don't know if it got everything.
Thank you. Yeah. really quickly, a follow-up. What accounting software do you use? Do you use QuickBooks or?
I have used QuickBooks in the past. Right now, I'm using Wave apps, and I would not pay for Wave apps. I tell people that the free version is all I need. I just need to send invoices once a month, and that's it. So it does what I need, but it's not nearly as good as QuickBooks. There's also, it uses accrual-based accounting instead of cost-based accounting or cash accounting system, which is like, it has to do with when it's accounting speak. I could go into it. I don't think you really care, but I don't think I know it's not as good of software. There are wonky things like in QuickBooks, each customer has like an account, so they can have a balance, and it's really easy to see that and, send them an invoice that shows their balance. And in Wave, it's like an invoice by invoice basis. It's not that like a student account. And so I just don't think it's nearly as good as QuickBooks. I don't think QuickBooks has a free option. And since I could get by with no, it doesn't. Since I could get by with the free version of Wave apps, that's what I've been using. But the minute I need more than that, I'm switching. And actually, I've thought about switching anyway. It only causes me trouble every so often, but those few times a year, I'm like, ugh, why am I doing this? So,
thank you.
Yeah. Mary.
Ask a follow-up question on that.
Sure.
So just, I don't know, Andrew, if this is like too specific a question for the group, and if it is, then we can just move on. But I invoice by the semester, so I only need 2 moments of enforcing. But it's still terrifying, and it's really hard. Like, you have to have a moment of courage to do it. And then the only thing I have is a makeup once a semester, and this semester I'm changing to like, this is the day.
Like there's a makeup day?
Yeah, it's on this day. Because I tried all kinds of things. I had like, I'll do it within the week, and then that didn't quite work. And then I had, I'll do it within, you can like change with another family, and then that was, like, the generous people were like lost their slot, and then some people were inflexible. So now I'm gonna try this way. So I just wonder if maybe you have an idea of what kind of software might help me with that. I saw Fonz, is maybe helpful for someone that needs it like once a month. But I don't have that need, and maybe you have an idea.
I would do something that's automated. So you plan in advance in a moment of strong conviction, and then it sends it out automatically on the day that you might not be feeling as strong. So, you set those invoices. You can still do an invoice like Wave or QuickBooks would do this. So it sends it out on the 1st of January and the 1st of April or something. Mm-hmm. Or I guess it'd be January and September, August or something, whenever you need it. But you set it up in advance. So you're not clicking send, you're hitting schedule. And then that day comes and you just don't touch it.
And can they pay through their credit card on those Wave with QuickBooks?
Yep. Yeah, definitely. And when it's automated and it goes on the 1st of the month, people don't take it personally. They feel like it's a machine doing it, and they're used to a machine doing it. It was delightful. Yesterday was the 1st of the month, and I just kept getting notifications all day that people were paying me. Delightful. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
Automate it on your strong days. Yeah.
Do you have to pay a fee if they're using credit cards?
On Wave, yeah. I don't think there's really a way to get around that, and it's just a cost of doing business. So, yeah. I mean, you can do. Some of my students pay through Zelle or like some bank thing, and they just set that up. Yeah. So if they've set up their own thing through their bank, then that's awesome for you. But anything where you're doing credit card, and I think that really is, it's a cost of doing business. You build it into your model. It's okay.
Right.
Like, we're business owners. Okay. So, yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
I was just wondering.
Yeah. Great question. All right. Anything else? I can ask some questions too, but
I kind of have a
go ahead.
question. I don't know how to word it. So as I was going through the ideal studio, I had like 2 tracks of thought, like me in the next year to 5 years with my own personal studio, and then 5 years from now, like going to like a multi-teacher school. But I don't know how to plan for the big plan if I'm trying to focus on like getting off the feet with myself. And so like I wrote down the plan for like as if I were like opening a school, but if I'm going to be bringing in other teachers, like how do I personally prepare if like I'm not going to be, it's going to be like a team type of thing as opposed to like me owning the place and renting it out to teachers.
It will be a team thing? Is that what you said?
Yeah,
okay.
it would be more like a multi like owner or like a
Co-op
partnership rather than like, yeah.
Okay, so would they all be running like on payday? Are they writing checks to them, or are their students writing checks to them?
I guess I would be, or we would be to ourselves. Like
the co-op?
Yeah, like
okay.
Right.
Have you listened to those
so if
co-op
you were like
podcasts?
A co-op or like a corporation, or like we all are part owners of the school and we all teach at the school, like various things. So how would I personally prepare to be able to like enter business in that type of format?
Yeah. Okay. So it sounds like, well, have you listened to the co-op episodes with
Not
David
yet.
Barnard?
I'm actually driving up to Virginia today, so I'll have a lot of things to listen to on the way up.
He had a lot to say, but it was really valuable. So think about how it sounds like each of the teachers in your scenario would be equal partners in the business. And so in a sense, it's like you're all operating independent studios, but under the same name. Kind of?
Yeah, kind of. Or we're all teaching the same people, but in various ways.
Okay, so you would share students in some cases.
Right.
Let's see. I think the co-op model would make sense here, where maybe each teacher is free to charge whatever they want. And you would be having, like, maybe each teacher is renting the room. I mean, I don't know how you want to like get the income for the studio, like the income that pays the rent and the marketing and things like that. It could be a percentage of each teacher's teaching load. So, if they're teaching 30 hours a week, then they're paying, $2 or $5 an hour. I don't know, whatever it would be. That could be one way, or they rent a room, kind of like this would be like the hair salon model, where each stylist rents their booth and pays, and from that rent, like the studio collects the rent and then uses that to do everything. No, I forgot your original question. So how do you plan for that?
Yeah, so how do I guess, individually plan for that type of model? So do I just like save enough to be able to like contribute to that type of model, or do I plan that as my model and like that is just the way I run my business, even as an individual?
I think you're kind of planning two businesses there, because you're planning the studio as a whole and like what's the overhead for that studio, and then how much in that case your customer is kind of your teacher, because does that make sense? The teacher is sort of paying the studio out of their income, their teaching income. So you do want to figure out the overhead for the whole studio, and then there would be like the business you're running. Like each individual teacher would also be running their own business under that umbrella. So yeah, it's kind of two models simultaneously. Yeah.
Okay.
But then the perk of you figuring out your individual part is that each teacher could kind of model theirs off of yours. because you want to make sure, like, when it all comes down to it, like, you can actually afford to still make your living even after that slice comes off the top for the studio as a whole. But your expenses will be pretty minimal because they'll mostly be handled by the co-op.
The whole. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Does that help you?
Yeah,
That'd be
that's
a
helpful.
really
That's helpful.
interesting model to look at. Yeah. Yeah. That'll be fun.
Yeah.
I hope you'll share your financial model next week when you put it together and we can kind of look at it, because
yeah, I'll try to figure that out.
But yeah.
Scarlett, that sounds interesting to me. How many students do you have right now?
Well, I'm like literally starting out because I just finished graduate school, and so like I'm starting in a new place essentially from the ground up. So I have like 2-3 students.
Yeah.
But a lot of colleagues and myself have the same teaching philosophy, and like we want to start a school where we're all teaching as if it's kind of like a dance studio model, actually, like where students come back multiple days a week, but they're learning different things, but under the same umbrella of like a teaching philosophy. So like they're all learning piano, but like one day they're focusing a lot on technique. The other day they're focusing a lot on ear training or theory or like keyboard harmony. Another day they're working on repertoire with the teacher, but they're in groups. So like it's like a class-based thing where, and then each of us as teachers would be teaching. So, but we would all be benefiting equally. So that's like a long-term thing, because all of us that are already here where I live are in different stages of their career. So like not all of us can afford to like invest in this type of like business, but we all kind of want to go towards it eventually. So like I want to build up my personal so that I have the income to like contribute to that idea. Hopefully like 2-3 years down the road. So that's why I was like, what do I do now? Do I have my own personal business model to focus on and then hopefully like save up towards an investment? Or do I like dream the dream and like just like plan as if that was going to be tomorrow? So, yeah.
Yeah. I would just say like the more that I'm listening to Andrea's podcast, and so I've been teaching independently for over 5 years now, and starting to think about opening a school and hiring other teachers. So not exactly the same with as a co-op. And I love your idea. That sounds so cool. But yeah, I don't think it would have to be 5 years away for you. And
Right.
do you think about like a percentage contribution and like payment? So you maybe know somebody who has like 10 students and then you have 3, not that you necessarily like need to start it this year or whatever. Obviously this year is a crazy year anyway, but
right.
You could put in less and also take out less of the profit, but maybe that would be a way to get there sooner.
Right. That's true. So we're all just like trying to figure that out but it's a crazy year. So who knows what's going to happen.
But that's so cool. I'd love to hear more about that later on once you guys get
yeah, going. I hope it happens. So that's just an idea that we've been floating around for a while. And so it's just like, but I'm one of those people that really want to make it happen. So I'm like writing, like, what do I need to do now to make sure that is possible?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I always like if you've got some vision for where you want to be, as much as you can do to move towards that now, even if it doesn't look anything like that yet, but you know, like the building the model to support getting there, that's just so helpful. And you know, it just means that right now you will not have as many expenses or something, but you'll be setting your income up to like ramp up to where you need to be then or something. Good question.
And I think that the networking, so it sounds like I'm a little envious because you already have the colleagues that have the like-minded teaching philosophy.
Yeah, we're all from the same graduate program, and so we all like, and we've all decided to stay. We're not all of us, but a lot of us are like setting up shop here, and so we're like, well, why not? You know, since we all have the same way of thinking and teaching.
That's really
cool. It would be fun to have all of you come do this course next summer, Scarlett.
Like I'll tell them.
That'd be so fun. Yeah, set up the whole business model.
Right.
Hannah, did you have a question?
Yes, I did. I was actually wondering for the PDFs that you're sending out each week, is there any way to edit the permissions on that so we can edit right on the document? Is that
know. Let me look into that, because that would be good. Yeah, I've thought I should redo these. I'm making notes. Thank you for saying that, because I am making notes for like, oh, next time through, I will change this and make it editable. Because, yeah, the like startup expenses, you really just want that to be a spreadsheet, don't you? That you can type into and it adds up.
There's a way to do it. I don't know how to do it, but it's possible.
Yeah, I made it in Word, not Excel. So I'll look into that. Yes. Next week, you get a real legit spreadsheet.
Cool.
Great question. Any other questions? If not, I will ask some of mine.
I do. Sorry, it's a really mundane one. Do you have an idea of how to do schedule? But just like a one-time schedule, like for that makeup thing I was thinking.
Oh, like you want to send an email out and say, pick your time on this day between 9 a.m. and 4 p.m. And yeah.
Yeah, or like the semester, like you've missed one, never mind. Here's your makeup day. Choose a time.
Oh,
left.
Let's see, something that's automated.
I'm not sure actually.
I mean, the most like simple might be to have that day and have a pre-written email. So when a student misses a lesson, you just send that pre-written email and say, you know, it gives them the options. And you could even have in there like crossed out the ones that are already selected. That'd be like a very simple, low tech
that's
way of handling that.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Okay, cool.
Thank you.
Rachel had asked about systems earlier, and I had mentioned some things, and that's another one. Pre-written emails, just like all these things that you know you're going to have to do at some point, and it's not going to be convenient when you have to do it that day, that you can have pre-written, or if you're going to have to do it over and over again. Like my recital emails, I just have a template, and I change the date and the location, but it's the same email. And in Gmail now, you can schedule things, which is awesome. So you can, in one day, say, like, send the 3 weeks out reminder, the 1 week out reminder, the day before, if you want to send those kinds of reminders, and just schedule them all out.
Didn't know that. That's great.
Yeah. All right. Anything else? Okay. Does anyone want to share? Let me rephrase that. Would someone please share their ideal studio? Like, was there anything that kind of like became more vivid for you as you were putting this stuff out on paper? We talked about all. Oh,
I don't mind going for it. Yeah. So my ideal studio would be like a bigger space than I have now. So I could do cello group class. I'd ideally be able to fit at least 8 cellos in one room, which is a really big room actually. Right? A down bow and an up bow, you know, to practice. I'd have a couch for parents. I'd have a shoe area where you can leave your shoes, and then not all the instruments can be, you know, not dusty or dirty. I really thought about the coffee idea, especially on the last podcast. I think someone talked about that. Mm-hmm. But I think I'm too nervous about like coffee on the piano. So I'm sure someone's going to do that by accident. But yeah, something like that. Some sort of area where you can pick up a flyer, or you can note something, you know, put a note for the recital, or like something like that. Yeah, I think that would be the ideal space.
Okay, 2 things I want to mention about that, because I love the shoe thing. And I think, okay, you'll hear this on music teacher Facebook groups, and it drives me crazy. You guys get all my rants. I try to keep them off the podcast, but you get them here. So when teachers complain about students who use their bathroom or like do whatever the thing is that they do, and I know students can be crazy, but there are ways to sneakily get people to do what you want them to do and behave in the way you want them to behave. And so doing something like that, like having the little spot for shoes, and your own shoes are sitting there, like that's a really subtle way. It's not, like take off your shoes. And you can put a sign there that says whatever, something cute, but I just think there's so many ways to handle a situation, and doing small things like that, say we like our studio to be clean and tidy, and this is the procedure. And it may be even something that as you're walking students in for the first day, this is the ritual. We get here, we put our shoes here, we put our cell phone. I've been thinking about putting cell phones in a basket. I don't do many in-person lessons, well, no in-person lessons right now, but like having a basket, if you want your students, teenage students or adult students, to be more focused in lessons, like this is where the cell phones go when we sit down. And it can even be, you can talk about it like I want this to be a relaxing time for you, and this is a time you get to unplug and just play the piano, and like make a little ritual around getting ready for the cello lesson or whatever. So yeah, very cool. I like that. And then you mentioned the coffee thing in Natalie's podcast episode. And that's another one where I think, gosh, if I were a parent in her studio and my kid wanted to quit lessons, I would be like, oh, I am going to lose something by not coming to these lessons every week, because this is my time to sit here, enjoy a book, and sip some coffee. So I think that's really powerful, and minimal expense, like what is it going to be? 50 cents a cup. So $2 a month more per kid, and yeah, wrap that into your studio expenses. So yeah.
Having been to Natalie's studio, it is beautiful. Like, oh my gosh, Natalie's my best friend. For everybody who knows, we go way back, and so I'm so excited to hear her podcast this today. But she gave me a little tour for small studio space, and it was just a wonderful place just to be. Not just for piano lessons, but just to hang out or to chill or to do work. And the tea station totally inspired me to or the coffee station, to have a tea station of my own, when I have my downstairs set up. But oh my gosh, that adds a lot. Even as a teacher.
Yeah. And if you think of have you ever been to a mechanic shop and there's yeah, we've been there. The magazine selection is terrible. The show on TV is trashy, and it's smells like burnt coffee because that's what it is, or smoke or whatever, that's the ambiance versus the Natalie studio or whatever. And it's really whatever you want to communicate. You can communicate so many things just in the design. Awesome. Thanks for sharing that, Mary, your kind of vision. Did anyone else? Would someone else share things that came to light about their studios?
I'll share a little bit kind of going off of that. So I haven't listened to the Natalie podcast yet, so now I'm really interested to listen to it, because one of the things that I felt kind of strongly about is that I want to have a space of my own that's very, very inviting, because I'm talking about pregnant women and little kids. And so I really want to have a space with comfortable seating for pregnant women, and a space where I can have, some toys and books and things for kids and coffee. And I know that, especially I'm in Orange County, California, so space is at a premium and it's super expensive out here, everything. But so it's a little bit overwhelming, my ideal studio, because I envision PowerPoint projection to put up, words for songs and all sorts of things, a water cooler, whatever, changing station for babies, but I think that I'm hoping that if I can make this space happen, that it will set me apart from the music teachers who are teaching at the community center or whatever, that people will really love coming to the space, and that will be part of the draw. I guess I'll find out next week if I have to charge twice as much as the people teaching at the community center, but I don't know, that's kind of what I learned this week, I guess.
Yeah, and maybe you do have to charge 50% more, double the cost or whatever, but it is will that pay off? Can you get the income? Those things just because they're more expensive doesn't mean they don't make sense. I have, this is funny. This is a box of dental floss that I got from like my dentist office, you know, was giving out samples. And I think now my webcam is out of focus. Like, this is ridiculous. This is like the fanciest dental floss I've ever seen. And this is the sample size, but their regular one, it's like $7 for that dental floss. But it's like really nice dental floss. It's really thick. It feels almost like as thick as embroidery floss, you know, not like a little plastic string. And so it feels amazing. Like, it feels high quality, it feels premium. And I think, Rachel, what you're talking about is like, they'll feel like this is their treat. This is where they go to relax, enjoy time with their kids. But it's not like the play place at McDonald's that's plastic and gross. You know, it's like a treat for mom too.
That's my hope.
So, yeah. Cool. Anyone else?
So for me, all the questions really led back to an idea that I had already and like affirmed it, which is when opening a multi-teacher place, you clearly have to have separate studio rooms, but I really envision like a gathering area as well. So kind of like Mary's, you know, larger area. Now for singers, you don't need quite as much space as cellists, but somewhere where you could have like an intimate concert or recital, or do a group activity, or have a hangout, have a party. And I like, you know, all these questions, different topics, but like it all is kind of like screaming that at me. Like when you find your space, you need to find something that has that central location. So. Mm-hmm.
Have you figured out like how much square footage you need? Have you like drawn out rectangles on the floor or anything?
No, I'm so not, that is not my brain space. I should though. I'm more of like let's see what's on the market and, you know, then go from there, you know, but like, that's a good idea.
Yeah, just to kind of have a sense, because, and I think looking at the finances next week too will show you like, oh, I really need 5 teachers or 8 teachers or whatever to make this work. And so that'll help kind of tell you where you want, how many studio rooms you need. And it doesn't mean that on day 1 you get all those studio rooms, but it does mean like you could say, oh, well, I know this building is going to work for us for 3 years, and then we're going to need to move to something else. And so that could, but also just measuring stuff out on the floor.
Yeah.
Really can help. Let's see. Did anyone have anything in the student experience? Like, we've described some of the physical spaces, but are there any, like, and we talked about rituals, but I think of Build-A-Bear. Okay, Build-A-Bear is a place with, I say this, I've never actually been to a Build-A-Bear workshop. I just know how they work. So when you build your bear at Build-A-Bear, you go in, you fill the, you know, stuff the bear, you pick out the clothes, all those things. And then part of it is getting that little heart and making the wish and sticking it inside the bear. And like that ritual has, like, that's part of the Build-A-Bear brand, is that ritual. Did anyone have anything in their student experience that was kind of like that? Or, I mean, it could be anything, but that was like, this is something I want to, I always want my students walking away feeling like this. So we do, anything about student experience.
I did have an idea, but it's not for every student. It's to sort of have like some kind of, I guess competition is the wrong word, but some sort of thing where the prize is a bow rehair. So, because I was thinking when you asked your question, you know, if you could spend $5 or $20, then I was thinking, it's not enough. Maybe not everyone can get it. Like maybe one semester, like one person gets a bow rehair.
Or how much does a bow rehair cost?
about 80 or...
So could it be something like when you've, I don't know, logged 100 hours of practice or something, you get one, and so it's like a perpetual thing? But
yeah, or when you get to this or when you get to this piece, or once you've mastered yeah,
that's fun. Yeah, I like that because it is specific to cello, and it kind of tells, it's like representative of the work, like the wearing out of the bow, and really, like, I don't know, kind of symbolizes that they've put in a lot of effort, and they wore out their boat. They need to
like you're ready for the next step. Yeah. And you earned it too. Like you really earned it.
Yeah.
And
I like that because it goes along with your values of like, we're going to work at this. It's not always going to be easy, but we're going to just keep going. And yeah, I like that one. Cool. Anyone else? Or anyone want to share what they put in the like $5 or $20, or if you had something that was more? Just.
Well, I didn't even think about like the rituals of like what you do, and so like what came to mind just now, on the top of my head, I have this wooden figure that sits on my piano. We call him Gerald. And my students are just fascinated with this wooden figure. I have him like aligned in like really good like playing alignment at the piano. And so like whenever I celebrate, I like look like Gerald, and so all the kids will like, do it that. And they like to play with him and touch him. So I'm wondering if I could give like every student's one figurine to take home with them, and they could like decorate it or like, make it their own. Because once some students got really like overexcited with him and they broke him. I think the new one, but then the reincarnation was Geraldina. And so like one kid had an idea to put a sticker on it to like have lips or something to show that it was a girl, which was really funny. But so I'm wondering like if I could spend like the $5 extra for a figurine from IKEA or something, and just like to give to the new student to make it their own on their piano to always remind them of like how to sit at the piano. But it's also theirs, but it's something that they see in their lesson every week.
Yeah, so that sounds really
just,
fun.
Came to mind. So I didn't even think about like something personal for a student. I was just more like, well, how can we make their educational experience better, or like how can it be more engaging? But that was actually a really great thing to think about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that idea. And it also gives them, it's something that they see every time they sit at the piano. It can almost be like their practice friend. I've thought about I have not implemented this in my studio. I think I need new students, but having kids name their pianos and being like, you're going to be spending a lot of time together. So what's your piano's name? And making it like kind of a fun thing. But then I can say, hey, how was, Harry this week? And, just, I don't know, making it something fun. Yeah, these are things that in and of themselves, they seem kind of inconsequential. But again, it's like that whole idea of like, what is our brand? What are we communicating?
And maybe, Scarlett, I have an idea for you. Maybe if it's not too costly, you could give it as like a little gift at holiday season. Because like this year I did, I saw on Etsy someone had a Christmas decoration where it had like musical notes on it, and so it didn't cost very much, and then it came in like different designs, and then people could use it, and then they could like hang it on their tree, or for me they put it on their little like cello peg. But I've seen other people do things like give someone like a music bag, with your logo on it or something like that, or at wintertime in New York, like a hat or something. But something that, because it was really nice actually. After the holidays, they came and they brought their cellos, and they had the little thing I gave to them, and they really thought about it during the holidays. If it's not too expensive, maybe you could do something like that.
Yeah. I've done holiday ornaments, and they loved it, so it was something special. Yeah,
it's perfect. And all these things, again, like another music teacher rant is that teachers, complain, oh, it's $5, I don't want to spend that much. But if you've built $5 into your model over the course of the year, what is that, like 30 cents a lesson? I don't know, 10 cents a lesson, 15, whatever. So it's not really that big of an expense if you're spreading it out all over the year. And by thinking about it in advance, we get to work that in. Anyone else have anything to add there? did anyone have anything in the personal section, like where they were noticing maybe boundaries they want to set on their studios? Like I only want to be teaching these weekday afternoons, or anything that you established?
Yeah, I did. I really, really want to have 2 days off in a row. Like I can't give that up anymore. Can't give it up. It's really, really important. Because I kind of went, I think I did like 7 days a week for like almost 18 months, and I went a bit loopy by the end.
Yeah.
More than I am already. It's a bit crazy. Yeah, and so then I had like 1 day off a week for then 3 or 4 years, and then last year I had 2 days off. I thought, oh no, I can't. Yeah, this is really nice. So yes,
You're getting spoiled with your taste now.
back to the second cello, so I don't have to take it on the subway. And it's, a teaching cello that student bashes into by accident. I mean, I make sure that they know not to be careful with that, but accidents happen. So yeah, something like that would be nice.
Oh, that's a really good idea. Something to build into the model. Oh, yes, yes. Yeah, because that would really impact your quality of life, wouldn't it? To not have to drag a cello everywhere.
Yeah.
Anyone else have anything? All right. How about in the startup expenses? Were there any questions about anything in that category? Or was there anything that you came up with that like maybe was a couple of rounds of thinking in, like it wasn't initially on your radar, but after going through this exercise that maybe some of us haven't thought about yet either? Anything in your expenses?
One for me was I remember from our conversation last week or the week before when you talked about how you had your studio underneath your house, or you had some.
Like under the stairs?
Under the stairs.
Where I am right now, yeah.
Yeah, that actually really made me think about it, because at the moment I'm renting a commercial space, and if you keep renting, then a commercial space is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. Then eventually then you're kind of like paying 2 rents in 2 different places. So that was something that gave me pause for thought. Should I look for a commercial space or relocate and put everything in 5 years time, say, in one house? Yeah.
Yeah.
That a lot. Yeah.
Get more house and not have the studio rental. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would be ideal actually. But then I suppose you have to have that moment where you say, okay, now it was for 10 years at this location and now it's at this. And of course there are some people that can't get there, or they come by subway and the subway isn't the right one. Yeah, there's like that too.
Yeah, you've got all those interesting constraints in New York that are just kind of unique to New York. I don't think we have that in a lot of other parts of the country, because like Rachel, you're in California, but that's a driving area, right? People aren't really taking public transit in the same way. So there's still the high cost of renting, but
right.
Not the same, not quite the same commuter culture. Yeah. Anything else? One other question I had, I was wondering if it would be helpful to have a group, like a private Facebook group. Is that something that people would make use of? Yes. Yeah. Okay. I don't know how much, I've never done that before, and I think it could be fun to like say, oh, I'm thinking about this, and have everyone be able to chime in there. I'm a little bit nervous about how much support I can give in there. So I'm going to set the bar really low on like involvement I give, but I would like to try it out. So I will go ahead and set that up, and I'll send it out in next week's email. Next week's lesson is also going to be pretty intense because we're taking all these numbers from this week and putting them into the spreadsheet. And like by show of hands, and there are only 4 of us here, 5 of us here, but who would say, I like numbers? Anyone? Like, I enjoy looking at spreadsheets. A few? Okay, all right. No.
It's like it's exhilarating and depressing at the same time. It's a weird high.
Yes. It's like, it's the truth in a lot of ways. And sometimes we'd rather just not see it. So I am editing those videos now and hoping to get them out tomorrow. So if you look, I don't think I'll be sending out an email tomorrow with them, because I'm just thinking how much time I have. But I want to give you guys some extra time before the office hours next week. So I'm hoping they'll be out, if not tomorrow, by Saturday morning. So maybe check on Saturday morning if you want a couple extra days to look into that. It'll be a spreadsheet. And so far it's like, I think it'll be 2 videos, but it's about an hour of videos. And I'm just like walking through the spreadsheet. So it's not the most exciting, but I recommend, like, if you have 2 devices, or you can do split screen and have the video on one and your own spreadsheet open in another, and just kind of have it playing while you're going through. That's kind of I think would be the best viewing experience or listening experience for that. Yeah, last week I put the office hours as like just the audio and the video. Did anyone try? I guess you guys were all on the office hours last week, weren't you? I don't know if that's something that's been helpful, but that's available too. Yeah, I think that's it. So yeah, I'm apologizing in advance for next week. It's definitely the most intense week. And know that the process you go through next week is going to be something like you'll keep coming back to it. And so it's not like one and done next week. It's something you'll come back to and revisit and tweak as we go through the course. And even as you go through just your career, like you will revisit the spreadsheet we start next week. But it is going to be a little bit intense. So
I really appreciate you doing that, because if not now with you and with this fabulous group of teachers, when you know,
yeah, never,
really,
never.
It's helpful. It's very helpful to us, I think.
Well, thanks. Yeah, and I really I say this in the video for next week, but I want to elevate music teachers. I want us to be able to speak the language of business and be taken seriously if we ever need a business plan or financial projections to show someone. And so that's part of why it's intense. It's a lot of new information for music teachers. And yeah, but I think it's important. And so I'm not going to keep it from you. It's kind of my philosophy. All right. There are no more questions, then we'll wrap it up, and I'll see you guys next week. Have a great 4th of July. Oh, pause. I always forget to take a picture. Oh, no, I'll do gallery view. Oh, there. All right. Thanks, guys. See you later.